stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good evening. It's after 5 o'clock. That makes it evening, right? Yes, Dion, that's the way that it works. So nobody wanted to come on live with me to do the doctor's opinion. Oh, dear Lord, what's going on with my hair? No, this is unacceptable. Yes. All right. That's better. No, I hope this isn't a lonely reading. It is Saturday evening. It's nice outside. Yeah. Well, you can always watch me in the park. Yeah. It's funny because I'll get comments, people like, I'm in a doctor's appointment. I'm listening to you. I'm at the DMV. I'm traveling through Idaho. I have a lot of people that listen to me on the run. I have no idea who they are. And I think that's pretty neat. I stopped counting, and like about the only thing that I count is the podcast, but that's because it counts it for me. But I always get these stats and stuff, and I don't really look at them. Restream likes to tell me my streak run for going live. They're like, "You're on a 24-week streak." I'm like, what are you talking about? 24 weeks. Try like hundreds of weeks. So we're going to cover the doctor's opinion. This is my Bronco hat from when we won Super Bowl 50. It's my favorite hat not because it's a Bronco hat, but because it fits so well. It's conformed to my head. It's funny, I didn't wear hats there for about a year. Because I didn't know where they were, and then I forgot I had hats. Such is my life. It's like, oh yeah, I have hats. I'm going to wear them. All right, so we're going to read doctor's opinion. I'm actually going to start at the second portion when he reads. So it'll be XXVII, which would be page 27 in the Roman numerals. Roman numerals. Do you know your Roman numerals? Should have taught you that in church. See? What did I tell you? Hi, Ingrid. I just got done saying I get messages all the time. Yeah, I'm in the doctor's appointment, waiting, just listening to you. Traveling through Idaho. So it's funny you said that. Just got off my monthly phone call with my daughter. We're increasing it to every other week. She's in there talking with my wife right now. It makes me... I didn't think my daughter was going to come back into my life, and it was the one thing in my life that I wasn't okay with that. I wasn't okay with it. So I've worked really hard to go inside and dig deep and make changes so that I can be the person that she needs. I just love the fuck out of her. Okay. All right. All right. To our work, I was going to tell you the page again, but you're driving. So, it's hard to read especially the small print when I'm crying. So, all right. The subject presented in this book seems to be of paramount importance to those afflicted with alcoholic addiction. I say this after many years of experience as medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country treating alcohol and drug addiction. There was, therefore, a sense of real satisfaction when I was asked to contribute a few words on a subject in which is covered in such masterly detail in these pages. I'm hoping to do it here in the next couple of days, but I have a story in there. It's a little bit lengthy, but it describes how the big book was written, and it is nothing like you think. So we doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our conception. With what our ultra modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Those powers of good is God. Okay. That now they have a name for it. They call it the X factor. Okay. If I was to describe a clinically, I would say it is CBT with the X factor. And that's what they would say. And that's probably how it would be written. Okay. So the powers of good that lie outside of their synthetic knowledge. Many years ago, one of the leading contributors to this book came under our care in this hospital, and while here, he acquired some ideas which he put into practical application at once. Okay. Now, those practical applications that he got were from Ebby, and they were the Oxford group. Okay. We are actually a spin-off from another group called the Oxford group, and the Oxford group is still around today. They are a religious group. They are Christian. They're either Christian or Catholic. I think they're Christian, like hardcore Christian. And they're mostly in it around in sober livings. Okay. I'm more apt to send somebody to an Oxford group sober living than a regular sober living, unless that sober living is 12-step based. Later, he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, and with some misgiving, we consented. The cases we have followed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men, as we have come to know them, the entire absence of profit motive, and their community spirit is indeed inspiring to one who has labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. Hi, Patricia. Good evening. They believe in themselves and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. Just by sharing a little bit of your experience, strength, and hope. Of course, an alcoholic ought to be freed from his physical craving for liquor, and this often requires a definite hospital procedure before psychological measures can be of maximum benefit. Now, remember, okay, like you'll hear like high bottom drunks. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use it, even though there's no such thing. Actually, high bottom drunks, sure. Functioning alcoholic, that doesn't exist. That's an oxymoron. Functioning alcoholic is an oxymoron. All right. So what he's saying there is most of us have gotten to the point where it's going to take 28 days, 30 days for the hooch, for the alcohol to get all the way out of our system. for it to clear out enough for the fog to rise. Okay. What are some other things that's going to happen in there? A good night's sleep. A good night's sleep. Water. Sleep and water. Why? We've been lacking those two things for a long time. Yeah. Okay. We need some rest. Okay. This is why you will often find it difficult that when a person goes from detox to sober living, see, there's a portion in there, there's a spot in there and some time that person needs in order to recover. Okay. And if you've been living on the streets for 10 years and suddenly you need to work, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna have a horrible employee. Not a horrible employee, but somebody that just doesn't understand the work yet. Okay. We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy. That the phenomena of craving is limited to this class and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. Once I take one drink, all bets are off. For me, there's not going to be enough alcohol in the house. That was always my concern. Whether I was alone or drinking with other people, is there enough? I could live in a liquor store. I could live in a darn liquor store and be afraid that there's not enough alcohol. Patricia says, talking about myself, after 30 days absences, I could have a spiritual awakening. Now, granted, sometimes spiritual awakenings are sudden, but most of them are not. Most of them are not. They take a little bit. See, the problem is in those 30 days, if God gave me a burning bush, I was too reactive. I'd probably throw water on it. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all. And once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, man. So the only thing, I had the habit as soon as I took a drink, man. As soon as I took it, as soon as I felt that warmth, after I got done choking it down, right? My first drink was whiskey. It wasn't beer. My first drink was whiskey. And I loved my whiskey ever since. And found they can have, once having lost self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them, and they become astonishingly difficult to solve. Frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. Okay. Begging us to quit drinking. You're going to kill yourself. I know I'm killing myself. Next. See, even now, feel how aloof that is. No wonder we're scary. No wonder people find us scary, right? The message which can interest and hold these alcoholic people must have depth and weight. In nearly all cases, their ideals must be grounded in a power greater than themselves if they're to recreate their lives. Now, let's remember that this is coming from a doctor. Okay, he doesn't come in and say, you need Jesus. Doctors don't come in there. They don't come in there. They're like, praise Jesus. We're going to heal you. We're going to heal you. You're healed. Right? No. Aside from the fact that we never told them the truth anyway. How are they going to help us if we can't be honest? Problem is, we didn't know how to be honest. That's why the first thing that we say, or that I said anyway, when I first got in here. The first honest thing I said was, I don't know. If any feel that a psychiatrist directing a hospital for alcoholic, we appear somewhat sentimental. Yeah. I challenge anybody, come spend a day with me. Spend one day with me. We are the front lines, my friends. We're the front lines. We work the front lines. Okay. We're the MASH team in wartime. We're the healers. We're healers. I was just talking to my daughter about this. Okay, because I'm a healer. My mom's a healer. My grandmother was a healer. My son's a healer. My daughter's a healer. I can see it in my granddaughters. They're healers. I can see it. Old souls, man. Let them stand a while on the firing line, see the tragedies, the despairing wives, the little children. Let the solving of these problems become a part of their daily work and even in their sleeping moments. And the most cynical will not wonder why that we have accepted and encouraged this movement. We feel after many years of experience that we have found nothing which has contributed more to the rehabilitation of these men than the altruistic movement now growing up among them. And it's not any different today. It has not changed. I don't care that it's been 87 years. Things don't change that fast. The disease of alcoholism has not changed, and neither is the solution. There is no new solution. Okay? We already spent thousands and thousands of years looking for the solution. You think you got it in because you got sober and now you're 6 months fucking sober and you think that now you know something better than the rest of us? Bullshit. That's bullshit. Okay? I watch it happen all the time. Men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. That's why I drank. I love the way that in the beginning, I love the way it made me feel. It gave me liquid courage, man. I was a shy kid. But once I took alcohol, I was no longer shy. In fact, I would become the opposite, which I thought was the right thing. But I'm an extremist, right? The sensation is so elusive. While they admit it is injurious, right? Hangovers, blackouts, waking up in your own urine. Oh, fun stuff. Fun stuff. They cannot, after a time, differentiate the true from the false. And there it is. I couldn't tell the difference. See, alcohol took that away from me. You remember when you got sober? You've been sober for a little while and grass turned green? Remember how beautiful life became? Because I had been living a false life. I was not Dion. So I had to intentionally find out who Dion was so I could become them. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. Not everybody doesn't drink like this. They are restless, irritable, and discontented unless they can experience the sense and ease and comfort which comes at once by taking a few drinks. Drinks they see others taking with impunity. And that's where we get jealous. All right. My wife just doesn't drink. She never really has. Only time she drank is with me. Even since we've been together, she's gone out a couple of times. I think she's had one drink since I got sober. I don't know. I have to ask her. After they have succumbed to the desire, again, as many do, and the phenomena of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful, with a firm resolution not to drink again. I remember those. I even pinky swore once. Okay. My wife has not let me forget about that one. No. I don't pinky swear anymore. Not unless I know I can absolutely fall through. Okay. But even then, I meant it. I absolutely fucking meant it. I did. This is it. 20 minutes later, it just felt like the moment I made the promise, the harder it got. This is repeated over and over again until a person can experience an entire psychic change. There is very little of hope of his recovery. Psychic change means changing the way that we think. I usually go into this pretty deep. Not doing that today because I'm going to cover more. On the other hand, as strange as it may seem to those who do not understand, once the psychic change has occurred, the very same problem who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. The only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. Okay? Now, do you remember? It feels different this time. I went through it. I'm like, it just feels different this time. I could feel it in my stomach. There was this tiny, little itty bitty glimmer of hope. And it was really small, but it was there. And that's where I started. That's where I started. I grabbed onto that little piece of fucking hope for my dear life because it's all I had left. See, for some of us, we need to be so bankrupt that God is the only thing left. That was me. Okay. I'm going to let you know it's not required. Okay. Men have cried out to me in sincere, despairing appeal. Doctor, I cannot go on like this. I have everything to live for. I must stop, but I cannot. You must help me. Listen to what they're saying. I have everything to live for. That means people. That means people. Okay. Faced with this problem, if a doctor is honest with himself, he must sometimes feel his own inadequacy. I know I have felt it here. Working detox, I felt my inadequacy. I sure did. It's hard. Although he gives all that is in him, often it is not enough. One feels that something more than a human power is needed to produce the essential psychic change. Though the aggregate of recoveries, and aggregate means total, all of. So through the mass total of recoveries resulting from psychiatric effort is considerable, we physicians must admit we have made little impression upon the problem as a whole. Many types do not respond to the ordinary psychological approach. So earlier I said CBT, right? But CBT needs to be done differently with us. You cannot just go grab a cognitive behavioral therapy book and it's going to change. See, this was written a certain way. And that's the miracle of it. Okay. 100 people wrote this book. So normal psychological efforts don't work with us. It's not going to work on the alcoholism. Okay. Because there's a few things missing. Number one, the X factor, which is God, and fellowship. Without the fellowship, we don't make it. We need fellowship in our lives.
She was in the middle of crying and telling me all kinds of stuff, and it disappeared. Okay.
People say I don't have patience. Just be patient. I do not hold with those who believe that alcoholism is entirely a problem of mental control. It's not. You don't have a choice. You didn't. I didn't have a choice. I wasn't given that. I did later. I've had many men who had, for example, worked a period of months on some problem or business deal, which was to be settled on a certain day favorably to them. They took a drink a day or so prior to the date, and then the phenomenon of craving at once became paramount to all other interests. so that the important appointment was not met. These men were not drinking to escape, they were drinking to overcome a craving beyond their mental control. I couldn't do it. I tried with everything that I had. I got a lot. Didn't put a dent in it. Didn't even scratch it. Okay. It bounced off of it like a cotton ball. The thing I would have to do would be give up. Weird. I would have to give up. Instead of fight, I had to give up. I had to concede. I had been beaten. And because I made that concession, I made success out of being beaten. There are many situations which arise out of the phenomenon of craving which cause men to make the supreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. Okay? And that is death. The classification of alcoholics seems most difficult and in much detail outside the scope of this book. There are, of course, the psychopaths who are emotionally unstable. We are all familiar with this type. They're always going on the wagon for keeps. They are over remorseful and make many resolutions, but never a decision. There's a type of man who is unwilling to admit that he cannot take a drink. He plans various ways of drinking. He changes his brand or environment. There's the type who always believes that being entirely free from alcohol for a period of time, he can drink without danger. That was me. That's the one most of us all pray to. There's the manic depressive type who is perhaps the least understood by his friend and about whom a whole chapter could be written. I could talk on that for an hour easy. Okay. We're putting, so it's weird because we're putting a depressant into our body, but it makes us excited. When I drank, it actually kept me awake. Okay. But a depressant doesn't necessarily make you depressed at the time. It takes a lot. Okay. So when we say it's a depressant, it brings you down. It's supposed to bring you down from being, okay. But it doesn't work that way with me. All of these and many others have one symptom in common. And here it is. I bet it's once we start, we can't stop. They cannot start drinking without developing the phenomenon of craving. Yeah. So in other words, I don't drink unless there's a phenomenon of craving. What could be that phenomenon of craving? It's 90 degrees out and the Eagles came on and the top is down on my car. That's one. You bet. That would be a phenomenon of craving. It's happened to me before. Drove right into the liquor store. Actually, I think I went to the bar. The phenomena, as we have suggested, may be a manifestation of an allergy which differentiates these people and sets them apart as a distinct entity. It has never been, by any treatment with which we are familiar, permanently eradicated. It's not. We know now. It is not. We are not cured of alcoholism. Nope. The only relief we have to suggest is entire abstinence. This immediately precipitates us into a seething cauldron of debate. Much has been written, pro and con, but among physicians, the general opinion seems to be that most chronic alcoholics are doomed. So what is the solution? Perhaps I can best answer this by relating one of my experiences. I love these last two stories in the doctor's opinion. About 1 year into this experience, a man was brought in and treated for chronic alcoholism. He had but partially recovered from a gastric hemorrhage and seemed to be a case of pathological mental deterioration. He had lost everything worthwhile in life and was only living, one might say, to drink. He frankly admitted and believed that for him there was no hope. Following the elimination of alcohol, there was found to be no permanent brain injury. He accepted the plan outlined in this book. 1 year later, he called to see me, and I experienced a very strange sensation. I knew the man by name and partly recognized his features, but there all resemblance ended. From a trembling, despairing, nervous wreck had emerged a man brimming over with self-reliance and contentment. I talked with him for some time, but was not able to bring myself to feel I had known him before. To me, he was a stranger, and so he left me. A long time has passed with no return to alcohol. That's what I would call a success. That is what I would call a success. This person became the person that they were supposed to. We do 180s here. We do 180s. We become something entirely different. When I need a mental uplift, I think of another case brought in by a physician prominent in New York. The patient had made his own diagnosis and, deciding his situation hopeless, had hidden in a deserted bar determined to die. He was rescued by a searching party and, in desperate condition, brought to me. Following his physical rehabilitation, he had talked with me, in which he frankly stated he thought the treatment a waste of effort unless I could assure him, which no one ever had, that in the future he would have the willpower to resist the impulse to drink. His alcoholic problem was so complex and his depression so great that we felt his only hope would be through what we call moral psychology, and we doubted that would even have any effect. CBT. However, he did become sold on the ideas contained in this book. He has not had a drink for many years. I see him now and then, and he's finest specimen of manhood as anyone could wish to meet. I earnestly advise every alcoholic to read this book through, and though perhaps he came to scoff, he may remain to pray. So what does it mean when we show up to scoff? It means, no, it's not going to work for me. You know, I'm a different type of alcoholic. Okay. I'm not a chronic alcoholic. What is a chronic alcoholic? It's the same as a hopeless alcoholic. Same thing. Chronic means I'm drinking all the time. That's what that means. That means that once I start to drink, I can't stop. That is a chronic alcoholic. That is a hopeless alcoholic. Doesn't matter how old you are. Okay. I don't think anywhere in the book it says, you got to be this age to be an alcoholic. You've got to be this or that to be an alcoholic. No. Alcoholism does not care about your gender or your race. Doesn't give a fuck. And neither do I. Neither does my higher power. It doesn't exist here. No. The only thing that exists here are children of God. That's it. No. So thank God for Dr. Silkworth. If Dr. Silkworth had not been there, no AA. One of our greatest medical benefactors. It's been neat because my wife's been talking to my daughter this whole time, and I think that's just awesome. They haven't talked in a while. That's awesome. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I love you all. I love you all. Peace out and have a day.